Days, all the overclocking guys, they were submitting on forums, and they had forum threads with all their scores and comparing, and basically it started as a bot that was just reading the forums and putting scores into a database or something. So now of course it changed a lot, and HWBot became some kind of a big website. We have a community of like thousands of people, tens of thousands of people worldwide that do that for fun. So HWBot, that's where we have all the database of all the scores. So people run benchmarks, and they submit their scores to the website so they can compare amongst each others, etc. On HWBot we have some leagues, depending on what kind of level you have. You guys are new today, so you will be rookies, you will be in a rookie league. So that league you will stay there 3 months, and after automatically you will move to novice until you have 1 year experience, and after that you go to enthusiast and you stay there until you're either apprentice, so you start with liquid nitrogen or phase change or dry ice, and then extreme, that's when you're just regular LN2 user or something like that. So basically you can compare yourself to people that have more or less the same experience than you.
That's great.
There's also teams on the website, so you can join the local teams. I'm not sure which is the best team in South Africa, but you can look that up. Join a team. Usually they have team forums, so you can ask questions there. Some teams do local events and gatherings, so it's a cool way to bring your PC and learn with others how to get more. There's rankings for countries, ranking for different hardware, so there's a bit of for everything. There's a lot of competition going on, and of course Internet Explorer is so great to start working. And some hardware news, etc. So that's kind of the community website. It comes with this forum, and then we have another one, which is OCDsports.io. That's where all the tournaments are happening. So that's where we have people competing in competitions that are either sponsored competitions, so by MSI, by Gigabyte, by Asus, etc. And there's also like a community tournament from HWBot, like the Novice Nimble, the Rookie Rumble, or like those are fun tournaments for people. Usually not big prices, but you can go in once in a while, some RAM kits or whatever. You can see from the schedule, it's pretty packed the whole year. The seasons are pretty big, and there's a ranking on that website for the 2016 season, 2015 season. So every year there's a champion from the season. There's what we call it the Road to Pro. Basically, is that you have different competitions and tournaments, and you go up in rankings. It's the ultimate fighter kind of. Anyway, so today you're going to learn the very basics of overclocking. So is everyone okay with components, or you want me to explain how the computer works just quickly? All right, I'm going to explain to you.
Briefly, yeah.
So a computer is very basic. You have a motherboard where everything gets connected to. You have the processor that is down under in the socket. You have the cooler, either air cooler, water cooler, stream cooling, anything you want. You have the RAM here. Then you have a power supply to power the whole thing. And that's it. And here we use bench tables because it kind of looks nicer and you can see the system, but most people just use PC cases. So here we use a Msi G17 carbon motherboard. This one is a mid-range motherboard. I'm not sure how much it costs here, but it's around $120 on Newegg. CPU is a Core i7 Skylake, 6700K. And here we have some Trident Z, so that's high-end memory from G-Skill. This one is a very fast kit. It's 2644 megahertz. The bench table, that's the one we use for the World Tour events. It's a custom one made by Streacom. It's a company that is based in China, and they do full aluminum cases. So the cool thing for events is that we can carry it around. Yeah. And there's 2 of those to win in the tournament for amateurs. Okay. We don't have them here, but they are shipped afterwards. So you have an idea of what you can win. Most of the parts are up for grabs actually. The PSU, the winner goes come with the PSU, a motherboard, a CPU, so basically you have a whole system that you win.
It's pretty sick, I think.
We're also working with Woodware here in South Africa, so they help us out with the keyboard and mice, the SSDs, and things like that. So those are really cool guys. So I think if you want to buy some gear, you should definitely buy from their store.
That's true.
Our partners, so our Sonic, we have Mac, we have MSI, Intel, and then we have GSK as well as Streacom, Corsair, Computex, The Overclocker, that's written by by Leo over there. That's a magazine about overclocking. We have Overclocking TV, that's the dudes behind that will do the live stream of the tournaments. So they do commentary and all that kind of stuff. You can follow them on Twitch. And we have also Taekwondo. It's a big website in Brazil because this year the World Tour went to Brazil. And we have also Overclock.net, which is maybe probably the largest team and the most active community of overclockers in the world. Those are based in the US and Canada mostly, but if you're interested, you can check out their website. So, for overclocking this, you have usually two ways. You hear most of the time people say you have to go in the BIOS, you have to change the settings there, things like that. That was the case 10 years ago, and it was the case maybe it's still 3 years or 4 years ago, but things have gotten a lot better nowadays, and you actually don't need to go in the BIOS that much. You can overclock everything from this software. It's called Intel XTU, and it was developed by Intel in partnership with HWBot, and the cool thing with that is that you can tweak your system from this application from within Windows. So you don't need to go to your BIOS to make a change. And the cool thing is that if you apply wrong settings in there, your system will crash and reboot to stock. So you will never get stuck or anything like that. You don't have to clear CMOS or anything complicated. It just reboots and it's back to stock and you can start again. So it makes it very playful to play with overclocking basically. The integration with HWBot is that this this application has a benchmark integrated. So it's going to measure the performance of your systems after or before the overclocking, and so you can compare how much you got. And the integration is that you just have to click here and it submits your score to HWBot, and people can compare the scores, participate in tournaments, etc. So it's very easy for you to start. If you have an Intel CPU-based PC at home, you can install the software, it's going to work. Okay. Main limitation is that if you have a locked CPU, so like an Intel processor that doesn't has a K at the end of the naming, it has a locked multiplier, so you will not be able to overclock it with the multiplier. So it's a lot more limited. This one is, so we can play there's a wide range of frequency with that one. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how it works. When you will arrive there, you will basically reproduce the same thing for the start, and after that, once you've done the basics, you can start improving your scores by yourself. Okay. So when you arrive there, you open XTU, and the first thing you do is you run the benchmark at stock. Okay. So basically stock, it means that we are using the default frequency of the processor when you buy it. So when you boot up your system for the first time, it's going to run at this frequency by itself. The motherboard knows what chip is in there, and it knows at what speed it's supposed to run. So this processor works at 4 gigahertz. That's its stock default frequency. How do we get 4 gigahertz? Does someone know?
Something multiplied by...
Exactly, something multiplied by something. So we have the reference clock, or it's also, you can see online sometimes they call it BCLK or base clock. It's the same thing. This is like the main clock of your systems. It's like a ticker. So here it's at 100 megahertz. And basically it affects everything that is using basically clocks on the motherboard. So your PCI Express to your graphics card, the memory, everything. So you can change that, but the thing is you're going to change a lot of other things at the same time, not just your CPU, so it might be more difficult to troubleshoot what's going on if you have an issue. And then you have the core multipliers. So here we have 4 cores because the CPU has 4 cores. If you have a CPU with 8, you will have 8. Hyper-threading doesn't apply for that because hyper-threading is the same cores divided by 2. Yeah. But basically, to get your 4 gigahertz or 4.2, it takes you 100 times 40, and as you go 4,000 megahertz, so that's 4 gigahertz of frequency. That's how everything works in the world. Your smartwatch, your smartphone, your tablets, your PCs, everything that has a clock and that has a frequency works this way. On the motherboard, you have different multipliers for every different thing, so you can sub-tweak each different parts this way. Interface-wise in XTU, you can monitor what's going on when you run the benchmark. You can see there's different loops, so that's why the CPU goes up and down. But it's important to make sure that at least it goes to 100%, otherwise, something else going on. You can monitor the CPU temperature, so they call it package temperature because that's the average of all the 4 cores temperature combined, right? Basically here we are pretty much at ambient temperature because we could use all-in-one cooler and they're pretty efficient. you have thermal throttling, that's the safety. If your CPU is too hot, when I mean too hot, it's above 100 degrees, right? 90 to, and there's no problem to push your CPUs as hot as that over here in the workshop.
Okay.
No big deal, don't worry. It's not gonna burn. This is just gonna activate. It's gonna slow down your chip so it doesn't have any issues with temperature. If this turns on when you run the benchmark, basically you can cancel the run and you can tweak some stuff I will explain later, because you don't want it to throttle because your score is going to be lower. So you want to be at 100% all the time. It basically recaps all the rest. So once you run your benchmark at stock, you have the score. Our stock score is 1,161 marks. Don't worry about exactly what it represents. All you need to know is how much more you can get when you will overclock. So when you arrive there, you do that, and then you compare online. So this is going to open the HWBot website. When you're there, you do the one-step registration. Use the same nickname that you use to register. So if you actually win, we can call you and know who is who. I'm going to log in with my test account. So you log in. You arrive here. Basically shares to share on to your Facebook friends. So I let you do that at home. Don't log in on Facebook on all this machine. Otherwise, yep. Analyze. So here you can compare the scores to other people in the community. Basically, the algorithm looks at systems that have the same similar settings, and you can compare it to what people have. It gives you a graph, etc. So this is something you can explore at home. Basically, you click on the little dots on the graph and it will show you what settings they use in XTU. So you can kind of inspire from the guy just above you this way. What is important for us today is to enter the score into that small tournament. So eventually you qualify and win something. So you click on compete, and here you have a form. Don't worry about all the form, it's not necessary. For today, the only important thing is that you choose all-in-one cooler, which is what we are using here. That's the type of cooling. You agree to the rules and you submit your score. So the score you just made is registered to HWBot and attached to your HWBot account profile. After that, it pops up this thing, where basically those are all the competition running at the moment, where your score is eventually eligible, right? We are going to submit to this one, which is the competition we have here today. So all you have to do is click participate, and that's it. The score is submitted to the competition. You can view the rankings by clicking on the view competition here. You can see how many people are competing. You can see their scores. If you click on the bubble, you can see how much frequency they used. If you click on view submission at HWBot, you can actually see more details on the XTU, and you can see the whole XTU settings. And also download the profile, apply it to your own system as well. It doesn't mean it will work, but you know, in some cases it might work. Here you all have the same systems.
So we can do that.
So why reinventing the wheel, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we close that, and now we are going to overclock. So like I said, the frequency is the reference clock times the multiplier, and this is the main thing you're going to touch today. You can play with anything else. I'm not going to show it to you, but you can play with anything to figure out what it does. You will see. One rule of thumb is that when you change something in there, you change one thing and then you apply. You change one thing and then you apply. Right? Once you change something, you apply, you increase the frequency, you go back to benchmark and run the benchmark. Every highest score you can submit to the competition. There's no limits. It will just always take your highest score. So don't wait the end of the half an hour to submit whatever you had at highest score, because you might have a crash, and don't forget the settings, and then you will lose your best score. So every time you have a better one, just submit it. So you will see every time you change something, it shows up in yellow here and a recap in yellow of what you changed. So when you will arrive there, you will set your voltage to 1.25. This is a safe starting point for your CPU voltage. Why you need to increase the voltage is because when you're going to increase your frequency, you will lose instability on your CPU because it needs more power to maintain that frequency. So we add more voltage, but it also means the more voltage we add, the more heat it's going to get. So the game is basically to have the highest frequency with the lowest voltage possible, still being stable enough to run the benchmark. Here we are not talking about 24/7 stability, right? All you want is to be stable for 5 minutes. You run the benchmark, submit it, and then, whatever. And you keep going. If you overclock at home for your daily life, then you might want to use the stress test here where you can do 24, 48 hour stress testing to see if it's stable. But at this point, it doesn't matter. So 1.25, you apply, okay, you continue, that's it. Your CPU runs at 1.25 volts. So now we're going to increase the frequency. So we are running at 40 on all the cores, so you click on the last arrow and it's going to push all the cores together. So let's say we want to run at 4.5 gigahertz. You put it to 45, 100 times 45, we apply, that's it, you're running at 4.5 gigahertz. It's done. You're overclocked. So you go back to benchmark and you run the benchmark again, and that will see, we should see an increase in the score. If you do something, there's no increase in the score, it means what you did had no impact. Because you will eventually play with maybe the core ratio, the core cache frequency, and etc. You can play with that, there's no problem. So you will have to find out what else than that can also help to increase the score. I would recommend that you find the maximum of you can get with those parameters first, and then you touch the rest. Don't touch everything at once, otherwise you're just gonna not know what is actually going on. So you can actually see we're already a little bit warmer than before, which is still fine. Like I say, there's no problem to be at 80 degrees, and anyway, those are temporary peaks, so it's not like it's damaging anything. And most people said overclocking is damaging your chips and reduces the life expectancy. That was many years ago. All the CPUs are a lot better designed, they have thermal protection, the motherboards are also much better quality, so you can overclock very safely nowadays. It's really not a problem.
And it doesn't void the warranty.
And it doesn't void the warranty.
Okay.
If it was, the vendors would never embed that and allow that kind of, especially not Intel themselves, right?
Yes.
Where you void warranties, when those guys, they remove the caps from the CPU to have a better contacts, and yes, if you start mounting or soldering straight on the motherboard, so yeah, so we have a higher score, 1,193. Of course, this is not enough to be in the top here. If you want to qualify for the finals, you have to be in the top 4.
Okay.
So then again, every time you have a high score, you repeat the procedure, compare online. It's opening the HWBot, etc. You submit the score. You log in, you compete, etc., etc. Do you have any questions so far? Because I know I go a little bit fast.
What's the highest score at the moment?
So the highest score at the moment? High score 1,384. So we are still far away. What you can do, for example, so the way you would do it over there is that you just keep increasing. Increase 4.6, you apply, seems to be running, but 100 megahertz, that's not much, right? Okay, let's go 4.7. Again, we run the benchmark. So you keep doing that, you keep doing that. Once you will reach, like, let's say, I'm just saying it like this, but maybe 5 gigahertz, you're still at 1.25, you go to 51, and then it crashes, okay, maybe you need more voltage. So it's gonna reboot to start, and you start again. You increase your voltage 1.25, you go back up to 5 gigahertz where it works, run the benchmark, okay, so that's where it worked, okay, and then you increase a little bit of voltage. Well, I mean a little bit, you increase by 0.2 volts, right? Something like that. You don't increase by 1 volt or something like that. You go slowly. And anyway, I would not recommend you don't go above 1.6 volts.
Okay.
It's gonna be too hot anyway, so it's no point. 1.25, and I don't know how high the guys are going there, but 1.3, 1.38, maybe 1.5. After you go 3, it's gonna get really, really hot. You keep doing that, and that's about it. That's how we play with overclocking. The tournament that will be on Sunday, basically the top 4, we take them, and they will have 2 systems, 1 versus 1, and they have 15 minutes on each system.
Yeah.
So here you have half an hour, 15 minutes is very short. So in 15 minutes you have to max out, get the highest score. And what we do, you swap systems, so it's very fair. There's not one system better than the other. And we sum up the both scores. So in the end, everyone has the same chances to get the best score you can. And yeah, that's about it. So you keep going like that, you keep increasing your scores. If you have any questions,